Hello there. This is another one of my messy study Bible studies, and I'd like to talk today about Matthew chapter 24, verse number 7. Now, Matthew 24, let me adjust the camera, sorry about that. That's a little better. Now, Matthew 24 is a discussion that really it's a little lesson that Jesus Christ gave to his disciples as they were coming out of the temple. Maybe for the last time before he got crucified. And they asked him a question about what's going to happen in the future. So he gave them what's called the temple discourse, by some people call it that. And it's mainly about the coming period of time the Bible calls the Great Tribulation, or the tribulation period. Now, it's very simple, the plan of the ages. Let me draw on my new whiteboard here. All right, you got Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And then you've got the Old Testament here. Believe it or not, these are brand new markers. All right, I'm going to put OT for Old Testament. All right. And you had Noah and the flood. There's a little ark there. And you had Moses and the law, a couple of 10 Commandments. And you had all those kings in Israel. And then you had kind of a break. That was the Old Testament. And then Jesus came along, star in the east. And he was born in Bethlehem, so he came down. And eventually he died on the cross of Calvary. Well, the Jewish people as a nation rejected him as their Messiah. And so they were temporarily put on the shelf by God. I mean, he promised Abraham the land and promised the nation that they would have the land as long as they behaved and followed the commandments of God. Well, they didn't. So God threw them out of the land, gave them a Babylonian captivity in the land of Babylon. Then later it was taken over by the Persians for 70 years. Then they came back. And the whole time they were back, they got controlled by somebody else. The Greeks, the Romans. When Jesus came, the Romans were in control. Okay? And they crucified him on the cross. Well, he for the last 2,000 years, you've had the church age. A little church here. And that's the age we live in now. It's going to go till a special event for Christians. And we don't know when this event is going to take place. The Bible says we can know the seasons, but we can't know the exact date. We can know sort of the times we're living in, like the times they be a-changing. Well, that's not a particular time of day or date. That's the things that are going on around the world. And that's called the rapture. And the church will be taken out of this world. All the dead Christians will come up from the grave, and all the life Christians will just leave the ground and go to heaven and be with Jesus. When that happens, God's going to let the devil take over for 7 years. That's called the tribulation. I'm going to put TRIB to abbreviate it. Tribulation. And everything in Matthew 24 is about that. Okay? So, when you see things in Matthew 24 start to happen, and the rapture hasn't taken place yet, we know as Christians, we're real close. In any day now, any moment now, Jesus could break through the clouds and call us home. You say, well, Brother Jeff, people have been saying that for forever and ever. It seems like, yeah, they've been saying it since I got saved. They've been saying it since the Well, since 18 somethings. So he said, well, he ain't come yet. Well, yeah, we don't know the day or the hour. But we've been in the right season. And see, God doesn't have the same conception of time that we have. Um, in our conception of time, things move very slowly. But in 2 Peter chapter 3, it says that 1,000 years equal a day with God. So, it's just been a few moments since the late 1800s for God. And he'll get us. But my point is we're already starting to see the things in Matthew 24. Let me get a Bible. Always helps if you teach the Bible to actually use the Bible. Matthew 24. It says this. It says, many shall come in my name, saying, verse number 5, Matthew 24:5. Many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Well, I remember when I was a teenager, we had Reverend Moon. Wasn't that fellow in Waco? He claimed to be the Messiah, the Branch Davidian people. There's all kinds of people that claim to be God on this earth and the Christ, the chosen one. There's lots of them like that. This guy got arrested in Tampa, Florida here recently. He's the pastor of this megachurch. He claimed to be God's bartender. I don't know what that is. Sounds like a kook. We got lots of kooks. So yeah, I pretty well say this is going on. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Now, we've had World War One, we've had World War Two, we've had the Korean War, we've had the Vietnam War, we've had the Iraq War, we've had the Afghanistan. There's been a war going on somewhere since, I don't know, 1900, just about the whole last century and 21st century. We haven't had a time when there wasn't any war and rumors of war. And it says, see that ye be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. That's the end of the tribulation period. For nation shall rise up against nation. Well, you got, let's see, Russia and Saudi Arabia fighting now over oil, and kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, Saudi Arabia is a kingdom, isn't it? Yeah, it is. There shall be famines. I remember a few years ago they had the big famine with Ethiopia. And all that, and we've had droughts here in the United States. Remember all those fires that came through Florida and California and destroyed the oranges, and I don't know what it destroyed in California. We had plagues of locust and pestilences. If you look the word pestilence up in the dictionary, you know what it means? It means the plague or any contagious or infectious disease that's epidemic and can kill people. That's what it means. Well, you might as well just put COVID-19 there. I wouldn't change it for the world. COVID-19 is a pestilence. And earthquakes. We've had 2 earthquakes since this thing started. We've had a couple of tornadoes. We got a hurricane in the Gulf. I think God's trying to get our attention, folks. And what's even worse, it says in diverse places. Now, divers is an old spelling of diverse. So you say diverse places. Diverse. What do you mean diverse? Well, that means spread out, widespread. Talk the fellow, Dr. Fauci, that's on the television all the time with the president. He uses that word all the time. This worldwide epidemic, pandemic means widespread, folks. This thing's 140 some odd countries out of 191 countries. So here we got this thing here. And verse number 8 says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. The book of Revelation, chapter 5, talks about the beginning of the tribulation. Revelation chapter 5. Let me give you some more real good. This is not encouraging. Oh, no, it isn't. It says, talks about the four horsemen that come in. They're the picture of the things that are coming in the future. Actually, I meant, chapter number 6, excuse me. Revelation chapter number 6. And I saw, verse number 1, when the Lamb opened one of the seals and heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. That's the Antichrist. I know some people think it's Christ, but it's not. Christ had many crowns. Christ has a sword, not a bow. And he don't need any crown given to him. He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is the Antichrist. And there went out another horse, verse 4, that was red. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. That's the wars and rumors of wars. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and him that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hands. And I heard the voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, "A measure of wheat for a penny." Now, this is economics. If you watch like one of these business channels, they give the price of, this or that or the other, futures, pork bellies, and I've got a farming channel, and they have farming news, and they give stuff just like this. 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Now, probably those that read this in the first century thought of olive oil. Of course, what I think of is the crude oil that they pump out of the ground and make gasoline out of. It's now to a low price. I tell you what, we got some bad times coming. In the book of Genesis, way back in the first book of the Bible, it talks about Joseph. And Joseph was a slave. And in verse 41, or chapter 41, rather, verse 1, it says, "And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by a river." Now, the two full years from what? Well, Joseph was thrown in prison falsely. He was falsely accused of committing adultery with his master's wife. She tried to seduce him, and he wouldn't buy it. He ran away, and they arrested him. And of course, nobody believed the word of a slave. Nobody ever has believed words of slaves. That's the lot of slaves. And he got thrown in prison. Well, he was such a good prisoner, he became like the head trustee of the prison. And one day, Pharaoh's butler and baker got thrown into the prison, and they dreamed dreams, and he interpreted their dreams, and the dreams came to pass as he interpreted them. The baker got hanged, and the butler got restored to his place. And the last thing Joseph kind of said is, "Remember me when you get up to Pharaoh and tell him my sad story, maybe he'll let me go." Well, the guy forgot. 2 full years he forgot. And so Pharaoh dreamed this dream. And verse 2, "And behold, there came out of the river 7 well-favored kine," that's cows, "and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the bank of the river. And the ill-favored, lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke." Yeah, it's a pretty disturbing dream. These cows come up on the shore, and then some really bad-looking cows, really sad-looking, ill-fed, ill-cared-for cow come and they eat the other cows. Well, cows don't eat cows. So this was a disturbing dream. And he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh woke, and behold, it was a dream. So he had 2 dreams. He had one about corn and one about cows. And the same thing happened. The bad cows ate the good cows, and the bad corn ate the good corn. And 7 of them. So he's trying to find out what this dream means. And his butler jogged his memory. Said, "Oh yeah, I had a dream of this guy in the prison named Joseph. He interpreted." So he gets Joseph up there into the court. And of course, they have to clean him up and get him out of his prison clothes, and they bring him before Pharaoh. And he tells Pharaoh this. Verse 25, and Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he's about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind are 7 years of famine. Now, this is a type of history to come. Of course, it was fulfilled in the famine of the land of Egypt at the time of Joseph and this Pharaoh. But there's a far more reaching prophecy. You see, the tribulation period is 7 years. And it's divided into 3.5 and 3.5. Okay? 7 years. All right? Well, before those 7 years, we're going to have some pretty good years. Now, look at the last 4 we've had. We've had a booming economy. The United States, which is the main mover and shaker of the world economy, has had outstanding success. We will probably survive this pestilence and go on to fulfill probably a few more years of good things. But the Bible predicts that when this tribulation comes, 7 years, it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad. There's a song that somebody wrote about it. It says, a piece of bread will buy a bag of gold, is one of the lines in the song. And that's always stuck in my mind. Can you imagine a piece of bread buying a bag of gold? Because gold is worthless because you can't buy anything with it. Well, go to the store and try to buy some toilet paper or paper towels or bathroom wipes or Clorox wipes or Listerine or anything. Not Listerine, but Lysol. Clorox and all those products that kill germs. The shelves are empty in the stores. And that's the way it's going to be all over in the tribulation. Now, there's other countries that have gone through this. Russia went through it under the communists. They go through it in North Korea every day. South Korea is pretty good. There's parts of China that have real problems. So it's coming, folks. But this pestilence, stuff like that, is predicted in the Bible. So batten down the hatches, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And I'd get ready. I'd get prayed up if I were you. I'd get right with God. I'd get saved if you're not saved. That way, when God comes through the clouds and he sounds the trumpet, you can go with us and won't be left behind. Because those who are left behind are going to have a bad time. Now, you keep reading in Matthew 24. I don't want to live through that. I really don't. And there's a rapture at the end of the tribulation. Did you know that? Most people don't. They don't recognize it. They don't acknowledge it. But there is. And in that rapture, you've got to be right with God at the time the trumpet goes off for you to go. Now, the rapture that I'm going to be in, I'm saved. I'll go, whether I'm backslid or right with God. Now, I'll have to stand before Jesus Christ and give an account of what I do. and I'll get rewards accordingly. But I'm secure, I'm saved, and I'll go in the rapture. And there's going to be a lot of old saved men and women that haven't been to church in years that bowed their head one day and asked Jesus to save them. Somebody came by their door. They were on a street corner and got a tract, and someone led them to Christ, or they read some Bible, Gideon's Bible, in a motel room and got saved, or something like that. And then they never darkened the doors of a church. And they're just their spouse or their children or their people at their office where they're working or the bus that they're riding in or driving or the plane that they're flying or whatever, and all of a sudden they disappear. That's going to be something, folks, and I'm still looking for it. Well, I better get off because the phone's ringing. I'll talk to you later.